Hi, everybody. Welcome to FGC Behind the Smoke. I'm your co-host, Boris.
And I'm your other co-host, Adamo.
Adamo, what are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to talk about proactive versus reactive probationer / firefighter.
Oh, okay.
I think it's going to be a good topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like these open-ended, abstract concept
Yeah.
chats we have, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think we're good at just kind of talking about
Whatever, yeah.
Whatever.
No, that's great talking you just did there. That's awesome. Really told the listeners, proved our point. Yeah. So you actually came up with this idea. Was it like one of the first few episodes we had?
Yeah.
You talked about reactive, proactive.
I think it's just such an important topic.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it's like it kind of doesn't matter what stage of your career you're at. It's good to be proactive no matter what, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of different ways that people can be proactive, right? I like to think of it as like, what can you control, right?
Right.
Okay.
So before you go into that, let's explain to our listeners like what's the difference between proactive and reactive as it pertains to firefighting? Like, what's a reactive firefighter?
I would say a reactive firefighter is somebody who doesn't pay attention to detail, doesn't necessarily think ahead, who once they're done their training, they're like, okay, I'm good. Like I know what I need to know. I don't really need to know anything more.
Mm-hmm.
I think in this career, the fire service is always evolving,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think if you go through your fire training, you're like, okay, cool. Like I'm set. Like I know how to be a firefighter. Well, I think you're wrong because in my opinion, our training is like, you've now kind of met the minimum standard
Bare
of what,
minimum.
what a firefighter should be.
Yeah.
Whereas proactive, you're thinking ahead, right?
Mhm.
You're like, oh, okay, hold on here. So, I don't really know how to do this skill set that great. Well, I'm gonna try and learn more about that, so
Mhm.
that way I'm more proficient in it. So that way, when I have to use this
Yeah.
in an actual call, I'm not trying to figure it out as I go.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot of ways to be proactive. And like I was going to say earlier, like there's certain things that you can control very easily with being proactive, right? Like one of them being like your fitness level. So if you're trying to become a firefighter and you're like out of shape, well, be proactive and get in shape.
Yeah.
Right. Something as simple as that. That's to me is being proactive, right?
Yeah. And guys hate, we talked about this before too, but guys hate seeing those easily proactive things that you can do on your own be sidelined. You know, when you're going through a fire process and you fail a physical or you do not too well on a skill that you personally could have practiced or studied, it hurts to see.
Yeah. And, like, I think it's something that continues to go on throughout your career with being proactive, right? For example, like if say you're like 4 or 5 years on the job, that the next step of your career is going to be to learn driving and pumping and stuff like that. Go outside with the driver and be like, hey, do you mind if I like come and check out a rig check with you?
Shadow him for a little bit.
Hey, can you teach me like a little bit about pumping? So, I'm going to be driving probably in the next year or so. Like, can you kind of help me get prepared for that? And do you mind if I just shadow you with your rig checks and I can learn from you, so that way I'm more prepared when I'm in that position of learning, right?
Yeah.
So, and like I said, like that's everything, right? Mm-hmm. You're done probation and soon you're going to be, a junior firefighter, possibly mentoring a probationer, right?
Yeah.
Be proactive in that, right? Like brush up on your skills so that way when you are dealing with a probationer or you are, involved in drilling and stuff like that, you're not just getting them to do something that you've already forgotten and then you're going to try and critique them on it. Like, that's not cool.
No,
right?
That's
like,
huge. I do that with every probationer. Like when we know we're getting a probationer at our fire hall, I will go brush up on our SCBA, brush up on our knots, brush up on, compartments. And because if we're going to be teaching it or we're going to be setting the standard, we need to be able to meet that standard as well.
Exactly. I had a story that I heard from a previous client of ours who got hired with a department in BC here. He was on probation and the crew was like, hey, we want you to tie these knots, right?
Yeah.
And he kept messing up this one knot and they were like, how do you not know this? Like, you should know this, like, blah, blah, blah. He's like, well, yeah, I'm sorry. Like, I forgot how to do this. Mm-hmm. Can one of you guys maybe just show me? And then they were like, and then somebody tried to show him and they were messing it up. So it's like, be proactive, right? To me, that's reactive, right?
Oh, dude,
like,
nothing makes you lose more respect for somebody than them trying to teach you a job that they themselves don't know how to
Yeah,
do.
exactly. And that goes for like asking questions and stuff like that too, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's common in the fire service for probationers to get like grilled with questions, right? Pertaining to their job,
Yeah.
pertaining to, fire science or whatever it might be. But like, don't ask them a question that you don't yourself don't even know the answer to. I think it's important to really be that proactive person, especially if you're mentoring people, but throughout your career.
Yeah.
We've talked about on previous episodes, you're constantly progressing in your career, right? Like you start off as a probationer, then you're a firefighter, right? And then you're going to learn how to drive, and then you're going to get into specialty, like all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you got to think ahead, right? And be like, okay, what is the next position that I'm going to be in, and how can I prepare for that?
Even if you're in that position and you don't know something, don't just be like, oh, okay, well, it is what it is. No, like find somebody who knows. For example, like there was a button on the rig that I didn't know what it did. I called the guy that I knew for sure would know because he's just dialed with everything to do with vehicles.
Yeah.
Like, hey, there's this button. I don't really understand what it does. I took a picture of it, sent it to him. Like, can you tell me like what does this thing do? And sure enough, gives me an answer.
Yeah.
Right. And it's good. Now I know I'm more confident with the rig. If I were to use that button, obviously it's not one we use often, but it's like I now am better for it.
And that's you being proactive,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's a lot of people in the fire service as a whole that would have been like, I don't know what that does.
Yeah.
Whatever. I've never been taught it, so I probably don't need to use it. It's like, well, no, like be proactive, figure out what it is, right? Because that's only going to make you better.
Totally. And I think that even if he didn't know, he would find the next person.
Yeah.
He wouldn't just be like, I don't know. Good luck.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't know. Like, what do you think about it? Like,
yeah.
proactive and
Yeah,
reactive.
it happens all the time on our job. Like you are put in a position where you have to think ahead. You know, you get a call, let's say outside burn. It's a bonfire on the beach.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to that call. In that 3 minutes or 4 minutes it takes us to get to the call, if that.
Yeah.
You have to think about what you're going to grab off the rig. Maybe I'm going to grab a shovel. I'm going to grab a pump can.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of. I'm not going to just sit there and look out the window like a golden retriever, with my tongue out until we get to the call. Like I'm going to think about what does it I have to do next? Where am I going to grab it from? Which compartment is it in? All that good stuff, right?
For sure. Yeah. And totally think ahead, right? I think a big part of that too is also paying attention to detail,
Mhm.
right? That's a big thing in the fire service. You grab say a piece of equipment while you're on a call, you walk back to the rig and you just kind of put it wherever, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a home for that piece of equipment, right? Like pay attention to where you got it from and put it back where you took it from.
Always leave it better than how you found it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? That's the kind of the gold standard.
Yeah. And I think too, like for people who are maybe going through the process or they just got hired or something like that, that's huge on probation, right? Like attention to detail, know where everything is on the truck. I think that was like one of the first things that my crew tested me on when I got hired was we want you to memorize where everything is on the truck.
Yeah. And that's actually a standard for every fire department. So if you're getting into it and your memory's bad, well, here's your chance to be a proactive firefighter or a firefighter recruit. Start getting better with memorization because it's a huge portion of our job.
Yeah, and like if you know that you're gonna, have a tough time with that or whatever, like take pictures of where things are on the fire truck.
Yeah.
Right. And then when you go home, like take a look at it and like, okay, that's in this compartment. This is in that compartment. Know where things are because when it's like 3:00 in the morning and you get a fire, like a confirmed fire that you're going to and your adrenaline spiked, you don't want to have to be like, oh wait, where do we keep the axe again or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like you want to be able to just grab what you need to grab and go.
And it just looks bad to not just to your crew, but to the public as well. A firefighter gets out, he needs to do a job, and he's looking through the compartments for the item that he needs.
Yeah, and now you're opening every cabinet door on the truck, and it, like Boris said, like it's not a good look.
Yeah, always try to be proactive because, like we said, you're going to get those checks. You're going to be put on the spot. So if you're reactive, you're not going to be able to catch up.
Yeah. What are some ways that you feel people can be more proactive later in their career, like after they're done probation?
Yeah, it's I actually just told my probationer. He just finished his test, so he's going on to the next chapter of his career.
Yeah.
Right. I told him that personally, I think for me, it was harder after the first 6 months, the second 6 or the second year after that, because now eyes are not on you.
Not as much. Yeah.
Not as much. Right. Maybe there's a junior guy at the hall now who's taking all the heat, or everybody's focused on him. So that means that your skill set isn't getting focused on.
Yeah.
You have more leeway with, not being there on certain days when there is training, for example.
Yeah.
So the onus is on you to get that training upgraded, basically.
Yeah. Stay on top of your skills, and then also add to your skills too.
Yeah.
That saying, there's more than one way to skin a cat, which is a weird saying. I don't know.
1,000 ways to skin a cat?
Yeah, I don't know.
I say that all the time.
Who came up with that saying? Who's out there skinning cats? We gotta come up with a new saying.
Maybe it's like an old Canadian fur trader thing when they ran out of beavers out east. Times were tough, Cats were handy.
Who knows? I'm definitely going to go down a rabbit hole on the internet later trying to figure out where the saying came from. But yeah, so there's like we were saying, there's the way that you get taught how to do things, and then try and add on to that. Try and learn some new stuff. Try and learn some new search techniques, some different rescue drags, right? Some different ways to use your webbing, right? Like I think most firefighters carry webbing as part of their gear, right? So like learn how to convert that into like a harness, or, how can you drag somebody upstairs if you need to bring them upstairs. There's a lot of good resources out there, YouTube being actually one of them, but you can look at UL studies.
Yeah, UL studies are really good.
It's actually really cool too. It's a giant warehouse basically. I forget what it's called, but they like build houses in there, and they have like furniture in there, and they test how fast different materials burn.
Yeah, flow paths
and water patterns, and what's the most effective, and all that kind of stuff.
The really nerdy sciencey portion of firefighting.
Yeah, but it's good. Like it's I mean I pay attention to that stuff because I find it interesting personally.
Yeah, I mean, and it just makes you better at your job. Like I know, like some of those UL studies, like penciling in and resetting the fire clock, and doing the transitional fire attack. That all came from UL studies. And
that's right. Yeah.
The science of firefighting. So we do use it. It does get utilized.
Yeah.
So you might as well pay attention to it.
Yeah, exactly. And for those of you listening, if you want to find that, just send us an email, and we'll send you a link to where you can find some of these resources.
Yeah, there's some really good ones out there for sure.
Yeah. And, another thing too is if you have someone on your crew that's, is into that kind of stuff and is pretty dialed, you can always talk to them too and be like, hey, can you teach me, say, auto extrication, right? Mm-hmm. Can we maybe as a crew go over some stuff for like an hour or two, or, whatever, right? And most people are going to be pretty receptive to that, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to, like we said before, you have to be proactive and push for the things that you're not good at. You have to brush up on those skills. Like what are you doing right now with, you've been on a few years now. So what are you doing to freshen up your skills?
Well, I'm big on drilling. Like I do enjoy it, especially, we work a 24-hour shift. So, it's pretty easy to get an hour of drill time in. Right. And, even it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Like you can just talk to someone on your crew and be like, hey, whoever the senior person on your crew is like, hey, can we like talk about maybe basement fires today, and like how that changes our approach to attacking that fire, right? And you can just kind of go from there. I personally like to watch like stuff on YouTube. I listen to like firefighting podcasts, and you learn a lot from that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's just find something that you don't know a lot about, and then just try and learn about it.
Which is a lot.
Yeah. And honestly, like one of our instructors, after we finished our heavy rescue course, said, you guys don't know anything. Like this is just the tip of the iceberg. And he's like, when I say you, he's like, I mean all of us.
Yeah.
Right. You should be learning throughout your whole career how to be better at your job. Right. It's not like, you're like, say 10 years on and you're like, yeah, I know everything. I'm good. Like there's always new stuff to learn to make you better at your job. And when he said that, I was like, man, I'm like, this is like one of the most dialed people I know. And he's saying even himself, he still needs to do better and learn more. And to me, I was like, man, yeah, you're totally right. Like it's always changing, the fire science side of things on how we attack fires, and positive pressure ventilation, all that kind of stuff is all kind of changing a bit, right?
Yeah, well, even like the nature of fires, right? Like, okay, before, we had wood burning and cotton, and those were the things in a house that would burn. But now it's like
synthetics.
Synthetics,
Yeah.
right? They go up way faster. We have lithium batteries, right? Yeah. Electric cars. Fires change. Yeah, like we put, water on the fire, but the nature itself of how that fire starts, or where it is, or how long it burns, like that changes all the time.
How quickly it burns too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny you just said like about lithium batteries and stuff. That's actually something that I've been trying to look into a bit more, is dealing with electric vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what? It's kind of a tough one because there's not a ton out there on that, because electric vehicles are so new.
Right.
Like I said, man, I'm stroking out here.
You're like, you're really gripping this mic.
Well, you know what? It keeps slipping. Like it keeps going up. I don't know. There. Is that better?
Just grip it fully.
Yeah.
That'll help. And it'll make it nice looking. I think your mic grew a bit after you held it.
Okay, we're going off track again.
Sorry. Yeah,
we say that at least like 3 or 4 times an episode, I feel.
Yeah. I don't know why you people listen to this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, like there's not a ton of, I shouldn't say that there's not a ton of stuff.
It's new.
It's new, like electric vehicle fires and electric vehicle MVIs. It kind of changes things on our tactics a bit, right? So trying to learn more about that, like especially in the city that we work in, there's like a lot of Teslas and different electric vehicles, right? So it's good to be aware of what's different with those aside from the obvious, right?
But, yeah, and that's everything, right? That's not just heavy rescue, which for those that don't know, that's like vehicle extrication and cutting up cars and all that, but like hazmat as well, new chemicals all the time, right? New building construction, right? I think there's like type 6 coming out now with like compressed.
Somebody told me that recently.
Yeah,
like,
I had
type 6.
I have a PDF. I'll put it up on, like, we should put it up on our channel if people want to look at it. But like, yeah, it's like a new building construction. So now all of a sudden we're getting, well, not all of a sudden, like people have been doing different buildings for millennia, but now there's a different type of building that we need to pay attention to because the nature of a fire inside that building is completely different.
Yeah, that's interesting. Somebody, I can't remember who was telling me about this 6 type of, I think it was my brother actually, he was telling me about that there's a 6 type of building construction coming out. So yeah, like you said, I mean, that's another area to be proactive and learn about, right?
Yeah, because if you are reactive and you go into an environment that nobody paid attention to, nobody took the time to investigate, it could potentially cost your life realistically.
Oh yeah, you could put yourself in a real bad situation.
Yeah, like if you're cutting up a car and you're cutting up a Tesla, what is an orange cable? What is a
exactly.
If you don't know that stuff, maybe you shouldn't be cutting it.
Yeah, exactly. With like new technology and stuff coming out, we were talking to before about like lithium batteries and stuff, them like blowing up, causing fires, and like there's just so much stuff out there that is coming out that I think people need to be aware of.
Yeah.
And just try your best to learn about it, right?
Yeah. Be proactive. If you haven't figured out that's the theme of this episode, be proactive.
What do you think are some ways that probationers can be proactive around the fire hall?
I think the big thing is working hard, keeping your mouth shut.
Yeah.
And I know we say that a lot and it kind of gets redundant, but honestly, if you keep your mouth shut, if it's like a legal thing or unsafe thing, speak your mind. But by staying quiet and listening to your crew, listening what they have to say, you just learn so much more.
Yeah, I agree.
And as a probationer, just listen to what they have to say.
Yeah.
Do that and work hard. And I think those two things in tandem will just make you so much better and just a way better proactive firefighter.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think for me, with how probationers can be proactive, is doing something without having to be told to do it, right? Like,
Yeah.
you see, say, I don't know, there's dirt on the floor or something. Just go grab a broom, clean it up.
Yeah. And
Right.
guys will test you on that. Like, we'll bunch up a piece of paper, throw it on the ground in the middle of the hallway and see if you pick it up.
Yeah. Attention to detail, right? It shows if you're paying attention to what's going on around the hall. Sorry.
Did you say you're good at talking at the beginning of this episode?
No. I don't think I did. I think you misheard me.
Roll the tape. Yeah. Or like, you open up a compartment and there's like a rusty axe in there. Well, are you just going to close that compartment or are you going to take that axe out and
take the time to clean it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little things like that. Yeah, I agree.
And I think if you do little things like that, I think people notice, right?
Yeah, and you're not doing it to get noticed, but you're building in yourself a character that's going to continue on throughout your career.
Yeah. I think that's a good thing to touch up on too, is like, you could be the best probationer around, but when you're done probation and as you get further into your career, you just kind of go feet up. Don't be that guy.
Yeah, always
right?
Foot on the pedal. I mean, we're all guilty of it. There'll be days
Totally.
when I'm like, I don't want to drill today. I just want to hang out, go to calls, and I got stuff to do the next day. That's life, right?
Yeah.
But if you make that your habit, then that's a huge issue.
I think you're so right. Yeah. Like, we all get a bit complacent at times, but I think having that self-awareness and be able to reflect and be like, oh, the past couple shifts I've been kind of not really feeling it or whatever. Like, I got to change that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Hey everyone, we just wanted to take a moment quickly to thank our sponsors. Our first sponsor is CanCon Construction. CanCon is located in Abbotsford, BC. CanCon specializes in heavy machinery for construction sites, such as backhoes, excavators, and so on. If you're looking to gain experience, or if you already have experience as an equipment operator and you're looking for a new place to work, we highly suggest CanCon Construction. They're one of the best in the business, and they treat their employees like gold. So check them out. You can look at their website at canconconstruction.com. The next sponsor we'd like to thank is Strike Recovery and Performance. Strike is located in Burnaby, BC. They provide physio, chiropractor, and RMTs. I've been personally going to Strike for a few years now, so it's really awesome that they've decided to sponsor our podcast. I've gone to other chiros and physios before, and nothing compares to Strike. Their head chiropractor was actually a chiropractor for the UFC for quite a while, so they have a lot of experience dealing with professional athletes. And as firefighters, you have the potential of getting injured, and they're the people to go see.
But yeah, guys will notice a proactive probationer versus a reactive one.
Yeah.
And if you can set yourself up for success early and get into that habit of, working hard, listening to what your crew is talking about, cleaning up those little things that you see wrong. I think there was like a general with a quote, the standard you walk by is the standard you accept.
Right.
So if you walk by garbage, you accept being around garbage.
Yeah.
And you have to take that mentality to heart and work in the fire service like that.
Yeah, I fully agree. That's a good quote. Yeah,
I made
really good quote.
That's my quote now.
Yeah.
I'm taking it. No.
Yeah. I like this episode. I like
Yeah.
talking about this.
Yeah, we're just chit-chatting. And
Yeah, and like I said, I think obviously a lot of our audience are people who are trying to get hired or people who have just gotten hired. But again, like, all of this applies to you throughout your career.
yeah, and I mean, we've had, we said after the first episode, we've had feedback from, chiefs and senior guys and officers, and not just people trying to get on, which is awesome. We can all get another perspective. Or
Totally. And we appreciate that too.
Yeah.
We appreciate, the first episode that we had, I sent it to a few people that we work with that I really respect their opinion. I just wanted to know, like, hey, give this a listen and like tell me what you think.
Yeah.
And they had really good feedback, and it was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what I love about the fire service too is guys are brutally honest. They could have just turned around and been like, this is the worst thing I've ever heard. My ears bled. Don't ever talk into a mic again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And they would have been 100% honest and would have been like, okay, yeah, noted.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so we got really good feedback. So
yeah.
that was us being proactive. Look at that.
Look at that.
All right. Now this ties into the episode.
Oh my goodness. Full circle.
But yeah, definitely be that proactive probationer, firefighter,
Yeah, foot on the pedal.
senior firefighter, wherever you're at in your career, right? Be that proactive person.
Yeah. And again, we're not perfect. We've, taken the foot off the pedal a few times, I'm sure. But you have to come back and be like Adamo said, like, oh crap, I've let go a little bit. I have to come back and bring it around.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, like I said, I think everyone's guilty of it at some point, but as long as you have that ability to self-reflect and be like, oh, okay, I kind of got to bring this back, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know, Boris, do you have anything else you want to add to this?
No, just if you guys have any questions, send it our way. Firefightersglobal.com, at firefightersglobal, whatever. We're everywhere.
Whatever.
There's me being reactive. Whatever happens. You can talk to us or not talk to us.
Yeah.
Sounds much worse being a reactive podcaster.
It does. Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah. I think I'm going to fire you.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Right on. Okay. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. And yeah, just so you guys are aware too, our episodes drop, what is it, every Wednesday morning?
Yeah. 5 a.m. Pacific time.
Yeah.
Perfect for that morning commute if you want to come to work pissed off that you just had to spend an hour listening to us.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe we'll cut some of that. Who knows? But
all right, guys. Well, yeah. Until next time, take care.
bye.